part of the deal, if I may call it that, or the agreement with the DDA is that the DDA is going to take over some services. They're going to expand what they do. They are going to manage all city, what they want, what is being proposed is that they would manage all city parking, also do the enforcement for city parking, and they would take over community standards enforcement within the DDA area, which is 66 blocks approximately. Also take over some tree trimming and some other things that are done. And so I'm just wondering if with the DDA, if this goes through, would the city actually be having less charges? I mean, they won't need as many community standards people, correct? Because originally, my understanding was there was going to be 9 police officers cut and 5 community standards. And then the community standards were kept. So I'm wondering if the whole package goes through, if in fact the city will need less money.
I just clarified what was going on today. And in addition to the cost, the parking ticket revenue will go along with it.
Yes.
And the parking tickets are profitable. We don't pay, you know, the collection costs and the community standards workers cost less than the parking revenue. And I think the DDA probably expects that it can do it it can do it more efficiently than the city.
And
right.
Also, as part of the agreement, they said that for the parking enforcement, they could use city employees or they could use third-party employees.
Good point.
And so,
yes.
I'm not sure how the contracts are for the enforcement service or
right.
enforcement parking enforcement. But if they use staff with less benefits, less retirement benefits, less healthcare benefits, then their costs. They could hire the same number of people, but their costs would be less.
So it could be less than for the city itself, right? For the city budget,
right?
Because the DDA would take on some things and to make it profitable. And
yeah, and I was wondering about that question is whether the city would actually save or lose money on the deal on having all the parking enforcement. And so I was looking for the revenue of
right.
the parking enforcement. In one of the reports, and I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
in the budgeted revenues, there was $30,000, I think, for parking enforcement. But
yeah.
I know, I mean, they just changed the fees, and I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 a year that they were expecting. And so
Right.
I wonder why it wasn't in the budgeted revenues.
right. Let's clarify one thing. When the budget is audited, that just means that it doesn't mean that it is accurate. It means what?
Well, people think of it as, I think, the Good Housekeeping seal
Yes,
approval.
yes,
They
that's
think
why
of
I
it
bring it
means
up.
more than it is. They're looking at kind of the big picture. And they're saying, hey, all the revenue and all the expenses is here. And, you know, for the little detail about, they don't care to identify how much is parking ticket revenue and how much is other kind of revenue. They just want to feel comfortable that it's all there. So I guess the way I look at it is there are certain things you need for the audited financials. There's a different set of things you need to manage an organization. And when I go and try to figure out what's going on with the city, I don't see the level of information that you would need to manage the organization.
I see. Because I think that you're right. I think that people see it. People like me see it as a, you know, okay, this is, but that's right. It's really not telling if it's well managed.
In fact, I talked to the auditor, and you know, this was a couple years ago, and brought up an issue where I thought they were overspending, and the response was, that's not our job to tell you that you're overspending. Our job is to make sure the accurate amount is there, the accurate cost. So if you're paying too much for things, but as long as it's there, that's council or the administrator's job or the public's job to look at that.
And it's important to remember that the city, the management, they create the reports, and then the auditor takes a sample. They don't check every transaction. They take a sample. They check kind of the big figures just to make sure it's within a margin of error.
Right. I see.
And so it's basically a minimum. Yeah, the numbers look good. The numbers that you report look good. But like you said, there's no. You're charging too much for this. You're spending too much here. There's none of that.
I have a quick kind of specific question because I looked at the numbers and I wasn't clear. There is what's known as recurring, yes, recurring expenses in the general fund, and I have a very specific question. The monies that we pay on the millage for the AATA are listed there, and so I thought that that was a pass-through. Is that, am I not correct?
No, the
9.3?
AATA millage is not in the recurring, or they're in the, they're in the recurring items.
Yes, it's in the recurring. And so since it's a pass-through, oh my gosh, tell me quickly, should it be there? We have 1
Yes,
minute.
because it's a pass-through every year. You're required to spend that millage on.
But actually, that's where it goes. So
Yes,
there's
yes.
not,
The city keeps back 1%.
the city keeps back 1%. So I think that recurring to me is a little misleading. It's like you have to come up with that money when actually the money is there.
Dedicated millage.
Because it's, yes. So we're out of time. I thank you so much. It's been wonderful to have you here. And I surely do hope that when the council goes to approve their budget on the 17th of May, that they will listen to what you've said and heed some of your suggestions, because I think they could be very helpful. So thank you, Karen and Brad, for being here. And I want to thank you, our audience, for watching. And please write to us with your comments, your suggestions, your thoughts. You know we want to hear from you, and you know we always welcome other perspectives. Thank you. So thank you very much.